Make sure to
This
record
conference will now be recorded.
There we go.
All right, good afternoon. It's Monday, November 9th, 2020. It's 3 p.m. and this is the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners meeting. We have all three commissioners here, Commissioner Hall, Commissioner Hunt, and myself. So we do have a quorum today, and we will just jump right in with the adoption of a consent calendar. These are items of a routine nature, but if any staff or commissioners present would like to pull items for further discussion or information, they may do so now. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, next up is the Echo Mountain Complex fire update. And Wayne, are you starting off, or is Lieutenant Shanks doing that for us?
I could go ahead and start off, and then let Lieutenant Shanks kind of fill in some of the blanks here. And I'm not sure if, looking at the group that's on the call today, we don't have anybody from Public Works, but I'll try and hit some of the highlights of things that are being undertaken right now. So I was going to focus on a couple of things that have happened that are providing us a little bit more clarification of the assistance we're going to be getting from the state and FEMA, and then actually some projects that are currently underway. So let me start first with what has been one of our primary concerns post the fire, and that is the housing situation. And during the course of the last week, since we had last given an update, we've had some meetings with the American Red Cross, with our folks in emergency services, with folks from the state, and with FEMA to talk about the housing situation, both what's occurring right now to provide assistance for folks who are impacted by the fire, what will continue for the short term, and some of the longer term goals of making sure that people have adequate housing as they seek to rebuild or replace their lost structures. So one of the things that I think we're getting a little bit better handle on is the transition from Red Cross assistance out there to other forms of assistance. And that can really happen on several levels in terms of what the options people have. And unfortunately, I was not able to actually attend a meeting with representatives from FEMA and the state in which they talked specifically about the housing mission and what that encompasses and what the options might be for the county. And I'll actually let Commissioner Jacobson maybe discuss that a little bit more. And then I'll come back to that and talk about some other things. So, Katie?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Council Belmont. Both myself as well as emergency management, also Kristen Yule from the legal team was also there at that meeting. First off, FEMA has still not made a decision on doing what they call their direct housing mission. Direct housing mission is basically when they provide the housing. And so if I could use, I see Commissioner Hunt's smiling face, so I'll just use him as an example here. So direct housing mission would be if we say, okay, Commissioner Hunt, you qualify for housing assistance. And he says, yes, I would like that assistance. And we say, okay, this is where you're going to live, right here. And this is a simplified version of the way I understand it. But the other way is in direct assistance, where they say, okay, Commissioner Hunt, you qualify for assistance. And he says, actually, I have a lead on a rental. I'll do that myself. And then you might get some assistance for that rent, but Commissioner Hunt is, finding that place to live on his own. So back to the direct housing meeting that we had, there still has not been an answer provided by FEMA on if we will get a direct housing FEMA mission. They're still waiting to give us an answer on that. We don't have a timeline, but what I would say is the types of discussions that we had and the types of questions asked kind of make me think that we're probably leaning in that direction. We do have people that would presumably qualify for that service. They did say that in other wildfire affected counties in Oregon that have qualified for direct housing assistance, they only see about 30% of those households that actually say yes. So you qualify, but then you have the option to kind of go up on your own and find housing, or use this direct approach. And they're seeing about 30% of people that qualify actually do that. So not everybody chooses that path. We had multiple conversations on things from vacation rentals to the increase in basically rental assistance given at this point, which is 125% of market rate. We had conversations around existing RV parks and places you might put manufactured homes and that sort of thing. So I think they're really trying to look at what options they currently have in this community for direct housing assistance. And I think they do recognize that because of our existing housing issues here, that it's going to be challenging. So they were kind of doing the best they can to sort of piece together what legitimate options they have. But like I said, still no decision has been made. I will just see if Council Yule has anything she wanted to add, since she was at that meeting as well.
Thank you, Katie. No, I mean, essentially, we're waiting just from the word back that they will approve the housing mission. So I think once that happens, we'll have more information on exactly, how many people will.
Yeah, kind of lost you there at the end, Kristen, that we heard, yes. So that's the update from that meeting, having kind of continuing dialogue with FEMA on some follow-up of, different connections they wanted to other municipalities and things like that. So it sounds like, hopefully we'll be close to a decision here, though no timeline was given. Back to you, Wayne.
Thank you, Chair Jacobson. And then in terms of housing, just the other thing to note is that we've been working pretty closely with, again, the state, FEMA, and American Red Cross to share information, because one of the things that we're trying to make sure doesn't happen is that people fall through the gaps. And so, being able to share information as to what current housing situations are, what's going to be needed in the future, and making sure that we can provide opportunities for folks to take advantage of all the resources that are available out there is one of our priorities. And so I think that some agreements are being finalized right now between the state and the American Red Cross, so we can start sharing that information. We're also looping back around to our own system in the county, and including the services we have with the Alala Center through the Navigator, Bethany Grace Howell, to make sure that we're kind of documenting where people are and what they need, and that we can provide as many opportunities as are available for folks as they deal with the impacts. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is the cleanup process that's occurring up there, because that actually, I didn't get final confirmation, but my understanding is that started this weekend. So that is something that the State Department of Environmental Quality and the Oregon Department of Transportation were heading up on a statewide basis. We were participating through our solid waste district in Paul Seitz and Public Works, Roy Kenyon and Steve Hodge, and getting rights of entry on a number of properties, and that process is beginning. And so the cleanup is getting underway. It's going to take some time to complete, but at least we're now dealing with the opportunity to get some of those properties cleaned up in a safe and appropriate manner, so that people can continue on with the process of rebuilding or replacing structures.
Mr. Belmont, jump in for a moment. I'm sorry.
Sure.
You said you didn't get official confirmation, but I can tell you from talking to multiple people on the ground, they reported that they were doing final reconnaissance of properties on Thursday and Friday, and that they did indeed begin their own cleanup on Saturday, Sunday.
Good, thank you. I had not heard that officially, so unofficially I heard that, but that's great. So that process is underway.
Excellent.
Kind of a related activity is a longer term impact of the fire is concerned with potential erosion, landslides, mudslides, and of course we had a little bit of rain here in the last week. Not the heavy rains we expect to see through the winter, but the beginning of that. So there are some post-mitigation activities that are being undertaken and being coordinated by, again, Paul Seitz from our own solid waste district, and Timber Unity and some folks out of Toledo, as well as other groups, are coming together, and they're going to start and do some activities next weekend, as I understand it, to begin to do some erosion control measures. They have some best practices for what they can do to try and prevent, the slides and erosion that can occur, and especially around our sensitive water sources such as the Salmon River in that particular area. And it's really nice to see the number of volunteers that are coming forward to help on that particular project, and things will get going pretty well on that next week. And then related to that, we've had some meetings with some facilitation by the state and Oregon Emergency Management around really bringing all of our volunteers together. We've had an incredible outpouring of volunteers from both within and without the community, assisting people that are impacted by the fire. But it's really interesting as you look at the nature of the way that service is done, how important it is to coordinate all these efforts so that we can try and maximize the amount of impact, the positive impact we have on people that were devastated by the fire. And one of the things that we're exploring is not only just responding to the Echo Mountain fire itself and the specific emergency we're dealing with here, but really building kind of an infrastructure of volunteer groups throughout the county for future emergencies and crises. And there's a system that's actually in place that coordinates volunteers. It's done on a statewide basis. A couple of counties, as we have learned, actually had those systems in place prior to this. And we hope to actually move forward with this and have it in place also for future disasters, in which we can basically organize the various, there's just a huge number of community groups that get involved in these things, but how can they best come forward and help during an emergency? So that will be, I think, a real positive outgrowth of what we've learned from our recovery from the fire. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Shanks if he has anything to add. There's also obviously a lot of other things that we're engaged in around fire in terms of dealing with a lot of the administrative aspects of this thing. But that's the gist of what we're really doing to help the community out there right now. Lieutenant Shanks?
Hey, good afternoon, Chair Jacobson, Commissioners, Adam Shanks, Sheriff's Office Administrative Lieutenant. I don't have much to add. I think that was a pretty good summary. Obviously, the housing situation has been a heavy lift and a constant point of communication for everyone involved and trying to determine what that looks like moving forward. The only other thing I think I would add that's coming up tomorrow, Council Belmont and I have a call with a FEMA program delivery manager to talk about, it's an exploratory call to talk about the initial costs that our county government, Lincoln County, has incurred as a result of the fire and the straight wind damage event, surrounding debris, emergency response, and infrastructure damage. So that will be occurring tomorrow. I think it's just, again, an exploratory call to get an idea of where we're at and what we faced and have faced through the event. So that'll be occurring in the morning. And I believe, aside from that, that's all I have for today, unless you have any questions for me.
Excuse me, no questions from me. Do we have questions from other commissioners? Commissioner Hall, questions?
None for me, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hunt, any questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, there is one thing I just wanted to read. Wayne mentioned it, but just for our viewers that might be listening and wanting to get involved. Here's the email I got earlier from volunteers kind of organizing that mitigation event coming up. And so I'll just read this just for a little advertising for volunteers here. So for the Salmon River Erosion Control Project and the Echo Mountain Fire Complex, they're asking people to join them on November 14th, 2020, as we work to protect the Salmon River and tributaries in the Otis area. Beginning at 8 a.m., we will meet at the junction of North Panther Creek Road and North Hillside Drive, rain or shine. From there, you will receive instructions on where to place erosion control barriers and materials you will need. Please wear boots. It will be muddy. Work gloves are also recommended to protect from straw and hay and blackberries. Also, if you're going and if you have these items, please bring them. Hammers to pound stakes, wire snips to cut baling wire, baling string, utility knives, dart clippers, pitchforks, and pickup trucks. This is a joint event between Climate 350, Oregon Central Coast, Timber Unity, Lincoln County Soil and Water District, and Lincoln County Solid Waste District. and emergency management, and their goal is to protect the river from ash and sediment during the rainy season. So if people are interested in joining up, there is a sign-in sheet located on our website for advanced registration, or you can show up on that date and time. I just thought I would mention it to people that might be listening and be able to go and join the effort. All right, if there's no other questions on wildfire, moving on to our other emergency, Lincoln County Public Health COVID-19 update. We have both our director and our deputy director on. I'm not sure which one of you would like to start the report, but I'll just turn it over to you to go from there.
Well, I can start, and Rebecca will add on. So I just wanted to discuss today quite a few things, actually. I thought I would give you all a sense of what's been happening globally, nationally, statewide, and then in our county, just for a bit of perspective. So as you may or may not know, the US has been leading the total number of cases globally with more than 10 million cases to date. And we are seeing some surges in COVID-19 cases throughout Europe. I know France and United Kingdom are back on lockdown for now. For the past 5 days in the US, we've seen over 100,000 new cases daily. So that's definitely a concern. And this is a trend that we've also observed in Oregon, where we went from about 600 cases on the 4th of November to about 1,000 cases on the 7th and 874 yesterday. So those trends are definitely concerning to the point that Governor Brown decided to put an order together to ask 5 counties to go through a 2 weeks pause, asking to pause social activities to help stop this rapid spread of COVID-19. The pause measure will be in effect from November 11th through November 25th, and the counties that are concerned with this measure are Malheur, Marion, Multnomah, Jackson, and Umatilla counties. So for Lincoln County, our numbers are still low. I can discuss the dashboard. So as of yesterday, we had 526 cases. So I wanted to pause here and discuss the fact that this number includes both confirmed cases and presumptive cases. So because there were questions about those numbers, as you can see here, there is a little box that one can check. I don't know if you see the filter to confirm cases, whoever is manning the dashboard. And so if you click this, the dashboard is going to update to confirm COVID-19 cases. So it's 503 confirmed cases and an additional 23 presumptive cases. So you can unfilter. You can click on the box again. Thank you very much. So we're maintaining an average number of new cases that is lower than our previous 2 weeks. So this is very encouraging news. And as you can see, the number of people who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 infection over the past 2 weeks compared to the previous 2 weeks is also encouraging. It's now cut in half. We can move on to the next slide. Thank you. So the demographics are pretty much remaining the same, with pretty much shared burden of the disease between male and female, and the age group carrying the main burden of disease is the 18 to 49 years old. We can move on to the testing slide. Thank you. So, a few updates from last week. So, the number of positive tests. So, there was a very good question last week about how come our number of positive tests was so high. So, there was an error in the data. So, this was corrected. The reason why we have a higher number of positive tests and a number of cases is that what happened is that somebody who may have been tested a few different times, and so this explains why the number of tests actually done is higher than the number of cases. Because if one person tests positive, let's say 3 times within a 90-day period, we will count this person only as 1 case of COVID. I hope that makes sense. We're still doing good in our proportion of positive tests. We're below, the 5% threshold that we do not want to go over. We can move on to the school matrix slide. Okay, so as you can see, thank you. As you can see, we are in the green for the main indicators. And so I wanted to give you an update that was provided to us this morning by Susan Graves at the school district. And so here is what the plan is. So she was saying that today grades 2 and 3 came back to school. And then in 2 weeks, they're planning on adding grades 4 and 5. And then on the 30th of November, grades 6, 7, and 9 will be added. And then on the 7th of December, they will, if all goes well, add grades 8, 10th, and 10th through 12th. And all those students are coming back through a hybrid model, which is 2 days a week in person at school and the rest of the time at home. So pretty much she was saying if all stays the same, everybody should be back in school by December 10th. And then if you would like, we can also look at the OHMSA matrix very briefly. So as per the request we received last week, we changed the title for the watch list criteria. And as you can see, we are meeting all of the public health indicators for the week of the 25th. So this is very good. So the other points that I wanted to touch on, I'm just trying to find my notes here. Maybe. Okay. So I just wanted to remind everybody that we're having 4 free testing events this week, starting tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be in Waldport from 1 to 6 p.m. On Wednesday in Newport from 1 to 6 p.m. On Thursday in Lincoln City from 1 to 6 p.m. and on Friday morning in Toledo from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We are expecting a good turnout. So there were a few questions that I unfortunately wasn't able to get an answer to. So we don't know yet how many people have registered for those events, but I just wanted to clarify that there's not a limitation on the amount of tests that are going to be available. So if you're not registered yet, you can still either register today before the event or still come into the event and be registered on site. The tests are available to anyone over 5 years of age and regardless of symptoms. We received a very good question earlier today, and I thought it would be good for me to address it at this meeting. So one of the questions was, what does a negative test result mean? And so one, it means that we're doing a really good job as a community, and that we should keep on wearing our mask and practicing all those prevention and safety measures that we've been practicing for months now. Physically distancing and washing our hands often and trying to avoid congregate settings and so, but it also means a negative test results means that you did not have COVID-19 at the time of the testing, or that your sample was collected too early in your infection. It also means that you could also be exposed to COVID-19 after the test and then get infected and spread the virus to others. And then the last piece is that if you have symptoms later, you may need another test to determine if you're infected with the virus that causes COVID-19. So pretty much the idea here is that you're negative, that's great, but that's not giving anyone kind of a free pass to stop implementing those prevention measures that we've been implementing for months now. And then finally, I just wanted to discuss and remind everybody of the importance of continuing on, implementing those measures, and especially in those times of, upcoming holidays. I wanted to give you an example that was shared by the new public health director at the Oregon Health Authority. She said an outbreak was associated with a family party that happened around Halloween. And this outbreak is being investigated. And so multiple people attended the party when they were infectious, and they didn't know they were infectious, and they infected 9 additional people. After people went to that party, the virus spread further and led to 2 long-term care facility outbreaks where there is now a total of 24 cases and 1 person dead. So I know it's a little bit grim, but I think there is a really good reminder that we still need to be mindful, and even though we might want to gather with family and friends, I think it's very important that we do that very mindfully and with a very limited amount of people, and with still physical distancing, mask wearing, and regular hand washing. So this is what I've got at this time. Rebecca, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I just wanted to add just a couple things. So Florence, are we at the point that we can say that we're going to do some flu shots on Friday?
I believe so. So on Friday, at the Toledo event, we will be able to provide flu shots. Those are free, and I believe there is a total quantity of 140 vaccines available. Yes.
So I was on a panel last week for the State of the Coast conference, and they asked what everybody can do to help us with this COVID response. And my response is that 2 things you can do. One is to get your flu shot this year, and the other is to follow all of the mitigation that Florence has just outlined. Because we are a little worried that people are going to get a negative test result back from our mass testing event this week, and then think that they're home free. And that's definitely not the case. The virus is still flowing around, even though it looks like it's not flowing around to very many people in Lincoln County. We want to keep it that way. And one of the reasons we're excited about this mass testing is because we can sort of be reassured if we get a lot of negative tests and very few positive tests, that is the case, that we're doing a really great job of keeping this virus out of our community. So those are the 2 things I recommend. And I feel so bad that this year of all years, when the flu shot is probably the most important from any other time, that public health has not had the capacity really to go out in the community and do our flu shot clinics, which we always love to do. So this is an opportunity on Friday for those of you who don't have other options, although there are plenty of other options, including Samaritan Saturday flu shot events, the FQHC, of course, and the retail places that are giving flu shots. So there are other opportunities, but if you feel like you can't make any of those, then the 9 to 1 site over at the Foursquare Church in Toledo is the place where you want to be. So that's all I think I wanted to really talk about. Commissioner Jacobson, we're going to talk about the order next. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll see if anyone has questions about this, and then we'll go into the order. So,
Great. Thank you.
thank you both Florence and Rebecca for the update, and just a good reminder as we cruise into fall weather and we all go back inside and we think about Thanksgiving and holidays coming up, just a good reminder on that, and a reminder people to get their flu shot. I think all 3 commissioners have gotten flu shots. So yeah. I don't have any questions. Commissioner Hall, any questions or comments for our health director or deputy director?
I'll say this is all really great, really encouraging. I'm glad to hear about the Toledo availability, and I understand the limitations on our resources, and also the fact that there are, so many alternatives that weren't in the community, say 10 years ago, but are any similar opportunities being considered? I'm especially thinking of areas like, say, Yachats with a very high senior population, and even though, there's a pharmacy, there's shots available through pharmacies in Waldport, that even that 8-mile drive could be a barrier for some seniors. So just wondering if this is a one and done, or if there might be a few others.
We are working with the FQHC to see if we can get a flu clinic going in your hut. So as soon as we have a clear date and time, I'll let you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hunt, questions or comments?
I just will reinforce the message that frankly, the best thing that can happen as a result of our COVID testing or those 4 days this week is a confirmation of what we believe to be the effectiveness that we've had in controlling the spread of the virus. it is not an indicator of the future, and that is my fear, as has been expressed by both Florence and Rebecca, that if people, and I have registered to get a test on Friday in Toledo, if you get a test, you're going to say, great, I'm healthy, I'm home free. No, all it does is tell us at that point in time you don't have it, and hopefully through the sum of the tests, the total of the tests will confirm that what we believe to be the case as far as the number of infected individuals in our county is in fact correct. But it, again, is not an indication or a get out of free jail card that says we no longer have to practice wearing face masks, proper hand washing, social distancing, small groups. Not to beat the issue to death, but I'm very concerned that people take the test results in a way that is detrimental to our success in controlling the spread of the virus in our county. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to order number 112339, authorizing fee adjustments for COVID-19 impacted licenses and health and human services. And I think, Rebecca, are you presenting on that as well?
Sure, I can definitely do that. So this order is intended to help our small businesses that we license for food, pool, and lodging. And the fact that they've been pretty hard hit with the COVID outbreak, we wanted to extend a little break in the fees for them this year. We already did not raise the fees like we normally do to keep up with inflation. And then on top of that, we are giving them a 30% reduction in their fee for the 2021 license. So those bills are just about ready to go out after you pass this order. We're going to get those out, and we just thought it would be nice to give everybody a heads up that those are coming. Hopefully it's good news for everybody. I think anytime they don't have to spend more money for a service they're getting, that's good news. So that's our thinking.
I was really delighted to get the email previously talking about this. Really glad that we were able to do this for people, and I know it's not waiving all of the fees because we still have to make sure that we can fund staff to actually do the service to keep them open. But I'm glad we were able to give a break to those businesses where we are able. Questions from other commissioners? Commissioner Hall?
Let me just add my personal thanks to the staff for bringing this forward. And yes, anything we can do to help businesses that we know are struggling, I think is a wonderful thing. And these are among businesses who have been hit exceptionally hard by the COVID shutdown. And I hope it makes a symbolic statement, but more than that, helps impact the bottom line. Even if ultimately it's only in a small way, it is in a positive way. And how many times have I heard in the last 7 months, both from homeowners and business owners, to paraphrase, I guess, the feeling that they really feel like maybe they're hanging on right now, but they're teetering at the edge, and just one more thing could possibly push them over into the decision to close their business forever, to not rebuild, leave and start over again somewhere else. So every helping hand that we can extend, I think, has great value, great purpose, and I'm happy to support this.
Commissioner Hunt?
No, I have nothing to add.
All right, question for Council Belmont. Are we at the point where we need to, I shouldn't say, do we need to, can we actually approve this today?
Well, you can, and here's why. Because I actually crafted an order for you. And sorry it didn't get to you before the meeting, but not knowing that what you might do with the particulars, what I did was craft an order that basically authorizes the public health director, Rebecca, to make adjustments in the fee. And so the manner, whether she does it as a credit or a reduction, whatever the manner and amounts that she do would be left at her discretion. And of course, she wanted to have this feedback from you to make those adjustments. So if you're prepared to go ahead and adopt that order, that would allow her to proceed with this in the manner she's described.
I think we're probably there. I think we all had positive comments, so I think we can probably see if we have a motion. Oh, yeah, Commissioner Hunt?
Well, I guess I could ask it after the motion, but are the sideboards in place that we talked about, like however the adjustment is made, but a cap of 30%, or is it structured some other way?
Well, what it was is I structured it so that actually the discussion to make the decision is at the public health director, but I didn't put the particulars because I didn't know whether or not you were going to have any questions or concerns or want to change something else. So the way I would look at this is Rebecca has heard from you. She has proposed what she wants to do, and she has heard from you that that would be the way she would implement this. But I did not include those specifically in the order because I wasn't sure if it was going to be changed or altered.
Well, I'm sorry, not to be difficult. So can Rebecca waive 100% of the fee?
The way this is worded, it's at her discretion as to what to do with the waiver, but she's going to have to do it across the board. She can't go on and waive, 100% for one, not for others. This is the manner in which she actually implements this is at her discretion of the way the order works. But she's now heard from you and proposed the way she's going to do it, and that's the way she'd proceed.
So the 30% figure represents potential reduction, that it could be more, could be less. Can we just be absolutely clear on that?
Well, if you want to give that direction to Rebecca, I mean, I could go back, and if you want to wait another week, I can amend the order to reflect the specific recommendations that were made. I was trying to do this in a manner that allowed this to go forward, but just in case you wanted to make any changes in the sideboards on this, you had that ability to do that.
No, the bills, she said the bills are about ready to go out, and I'd hate to deny that. So if we can come to a meeting of minds here on how to accomplish this, I'd be just as happy in adopting it today.
And I think the way you could do that is your motion could be to adopt order number 11-20-339 to make the adjustments as described by the director in the meeting today. And that gives her then very clearly direction from you as to what you want to see done.
All right, then, Madam Chair, if I could offer the motion as phrased by Mr. Belmont.
I'll second it, but I'll ask the director a question. So what's your understanding of the percentage of reductions that you're authorized to make? Or what ones will you make under this authorization?
So we are offering a 30% reduction in the licensing fees for all of our restaurants, our lodging facilities, our pools and spas, and we've included the RV parks in that as well.
Okay, so your understanding is 30%.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. I've seconded the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to commissioner reports. I would just say that the report I was going to give under our wildfire update around housing. The second thing I would say, also related to housing, is I'm sure Commissioner Hall might have something to say as well, but on this, a few weeks ago, the E-Board did approve funding for hotel purchases for wildfire affected counties. The Oregon Community Foundation is basically kind of hosting that process, so they have money from the state. The request for proposal supposedly is going to drop today, though when I checked before our meeting, it had not yet come out yet. So I'm working with nonprofits in the area to hopefully get a, make sure that there's a proposal going out the door. For Lincoln County, this will be a proposal by a nonprofit to purchase and run the facility. But just want to make sure that they have the support they need and making sure that proposal gets out the door. And it is a competitive process. You don't just get a hotel because we had a wildfire, so it is competitive. So trying to make sure that there's a competitive proposal going out the door as well. So that will probably consume part of my time over the next couple of weeks, trying to help with that. And then additionally, earlier today, just before me, the e-board met again. And while I don't have a lot of details, I do know that they rediscussed and re-voted on the project turnkey proposal, which is again hotel purchase for the whole state. And this time that proposal did actually pass. There will be additional dollars going out the door. And I see Commissioner Hall hearing additional dollars going out the door for additional purposes beyond just those that are wildfire affected, though. Wildfire affected counties will go first because that process is already underway. So it's kind of an exciting time here to hopefully not only help those impacted right now by the wildfire in our community, but beyond that into the future. So that's all my report that I have for right now. Commissioner Hunt, do you have a report to share?
Well, yes, I have a couple of different things. First of all, I'm certainly supportive of some nonprofit agency or some other entity being involved in the turnkey project, but I've voiced my serious concerns about the county being, if you will, the lead agency or in a role other than one simply of support for a nonprofit agency. I have serious concerns about the county purchasing a motel, whether it be for fire victims or homeless, and then trying to operate that entity, that housing, and be able to do it without jeopardizing other services that the county provides. So certainly supportive of a nonprofit agency going forward. Second of all, as I think many know, I chair the consortium board that oversees the Northwest Workforce Investment Board, and now Northwest Workforce Investment Board was a recipient of a $740,000 grant. This funds from the Oregon Health Authority and Oregon OSHA, Oregon Sciences and Health Hospitalists, anyhow, the hospitals. And this $740,000 is to train behavioral health individuals, and the funding is available for entry level all the way through master level individuals, again, to provide the ability to improve the services, expand the services, and there's a strong focus on the Black, Indigenous, and people of color as far as the ones that would be given a high priority. So some very good news for behavioral health and services that'll be improving through this funding. And lastly, on a personal note, I will wish my daughter happy birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I should say daughter Courtney. I have two daughters.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
Courtney.
All right, Commissioner Hall, do you have a report to share?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair Jacobson. And yes, the good news about Project Turnkey, the emergency board reversed course this afternoon, as you mentioned. 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, they approved the $30 million funding package for wildfire impacted counties. And today they reversed the decision by a single vote not to fund the $35 million package for non-wildfire impacted counties. And, I'm at a loss for words, which I normally am, but people, I think, who have worked deeply in homeless issues and housing issues in this state know that this is, one person described this as a moonshot. We know that we have thousands of Oregonians who face the prospect of living on the streets in this winter, a winter where COVID remains present, where flu season is coming, where rainy, windy, cold weather is going to be dominant on the west side of the state over the next few months, and in central and eastern Oregon, freezing weather. And if Project Turnkey fulfills its goals and its potential and acquires and makes operational 1,000 motel units in a matter of months, that is a lifeline to thousands of people and families. And I say good for the legislative leadership, good for their boldness. It is a calculated risk, but good for their willingness to try something bold in really difficult times. And Commissioner Hunt, I think, as we consider whether a local project is the right thing for us, has raised exactly the kind of due diligence questions that need to be done. Who is going to be responsible for long-term operations and maintenance of these facilities? Because frankly, I am doubtful that any motel property that's available on the market is, despite the name, truly going to be turnkey ready, that there's going to be some repair and maintenance work. And even though, the sideboards for turnkey are still pretty sketchy, our initial proposal includes a 10% overhead allocation, and will that be enough to cover operations and maintenance? And at least in my initial vision now, that hopefully we do find a local nonprofit, ideally one with experience in operating group housing and providing case management services to take the lead on this. But I think for it to truly be effective, the county is going to have an important supported role, that in terms of case management, some of these people may be community corrections clients, and we want to make sure there's strong linkages there. A lot of these folks are going to need health services and are probably likely clients of our community health centers, our federally qualified health centers. And it'll just be important to me, I think, that we have a really tight working relationship with whatever entity ends up taking this on. A couple of things related to the Friday meeting of the Oregon Housing Stability Council, which I chair. Leadership at the State Housing Agency is really working, I would say, to the phrase that came to mind was pivot on a dime on a lot of programs. And although the state already has a couple of existing programs for the acquisition of manufactured home parks and conversion of them to nonprofit status and permanent affordability, either through acquisition by a nonprofit or conversion to an owner cooperative, they are looking at revising the program to specifically target manufactured home parks that were destroyed in wildfire. We had at least one right here in the Echo Mountain complex that was leveled, and if the owner is willing to sell to a nonprofit developer or an owner cooperative, that's perhaps an attractive option. It's a program will offer as financing a long-term, low-interest loan, just 0.75% for most park acquisitions, but for acquisition of fire damaged parks, it's going to be 0.25%. So, you know, to me, that's one more tool in what has to be a very big toolbox of solutions to get people housed again. And more conceptual at this point, no decision, but it'll be a further discussion at our December meeting. Yeah, the Housing Council makes final decisions on a whole range of housing funding programs that are funded by the state. And what we agreed, at least on a conceptual basis, and there'll be a specific proposal and discussion at our meeting next month, was that the 8 wildfire impacted counties, including us, that in project reviews over the next 3 years, 2021, 22, and 23, that projects coming out of these counties would receive a few extra preference points in the decision-making matrix. Now, you know, that means no guarantee, for example, that a Lincoln County project would absolutely be funded. There are a whole lot of factors that they consider, but I truly appreciated the fact that the recognition that the need is acute everywhere, but now it has become even more acute in counties like ours. So this was something that I advocated for and will continue to advocate for when we have the final discussion and vote next month. Thank you.
Oh, great, thank you. Is there anything else from staff? Council Belmont, anything you would like to add before we adjourn?
Nothing more.
Okay, with that, we will go ahead and adjourn our meeting. Our next Lincoln County Board of Commissioners meeting is Monday, November 16th, 2020 at 3 p.m. again remotely. And I do believe we're going to have an update on vacation rental dwellings at that meeting. And I know we've had lots of people emailing us, so we will review some VRD issues at that meeting. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
This conference is no longer being recorded.